do that.
I know, I hate that I'm missing it, but, you know, I can't.
The meeting is called to order. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome each and every one here tonight. Any visitors out there, we have several personnel with us. We welcome all of you here tonight. At this time, we're going to stand for the pledge, and afterwards, board member Ben Kirk is going to lead us in a word of prayer. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for this day that you've given us and for this opportunity that we have to serve our great school district, and pray protection upon everyone here tonight, over our students and our teachers and our schools. And we just thank you for the opportunity that we get to do this business here. Give us clarity of mind and heart, and keep your hand upon us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. Clark. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Does anyone have any additions? There being none, we'll move on. Would anyone like to remove any item from the consent agenda for the discussion? Do we have a motion to approve it? Motion by Mr. Kirk. Second by Ms. Eubanks. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Superintendent update, Dr. Combs.
Got this awesome plaque here on the podium. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be with you this evening and to address our new board members for the first time. I apologize that I was not here in September, but I also know that Dr. Bird was here and probably did a better job than I did. So you probably want her to come back up here and me to leave. I also want to take this opportunity to apologize to our online audience for having to look at the bald spot on the back of my head. A church member pointed that out to me a few weeks ago after she watched the August meeting. And so I'll work with Kevin to see if there's some kind of filter, possibly, Kevin, that we can offer to get rid of that.
Spray on hair. That's right.
I may have to do that. Okay. I just didn't want to hurt anybody's eyes on camera. So, as I've traveled to a couple different locations these past few months with Ford and workforce development, it's been uplifting actually to see how far ahead we are in Tipton County with the number of CTE programs that we already offer. It was very exciting. I was in Dearborn, Michigan. I was in Louisville, Kentucky, looking at some of the academies that they have there. And so just so you know, as we work on additional offerings, the plan is not to do away with anything that is currently a staple in our program. Because I've heard that, so I want to make sure that I say that out loud. My plan is simply to add more options for our kids and then get them involved in these programs sooner than in the ninth grade. So that's kind of the gear that we're wanting to go in. We'll of course keep you in the loop and garner your input as this process gathers momentum. We've already been talking about seeing some changes already, but it will continue to grow. With this said, I hope all of you are able to participate in the CTE tour on November the 7th that Dr. Bird has coordinated for you and for our commissioners. I think that'll be an exciting time, and I truly believe that you will find it both eye-opening and invigorating to see the programs that we currently have in our schools. It always helps to be able to talk specifics about something if you've seen it. And so we want to definitely get you out there, not to mention the incredible adventure it's going to be riding on the bus on the way down there. So, Mr. Vincent, you're still driving, right? Is that what you said? All right. Heads up. You can drive separately if you like. Lastly, I'd like some direction from the board. So at the Finance Committee meeting Monday evening, I was asked by Commissioner Richard Kelly to provide some numbers for them regarding outsourcing buses. As you know, I don't answer to the commission, I answer to you. So I would need to hear that request from this board before I did that. Prior to your decision, I want to just share a few things with you to consider, okay? Number one, We employ 125 drivers and provide insurance for approximately 71 of those, which is about 57% of those people. 2, our current bus inventory would be valued, strictly an estimation that I did today, at close to 12.5 million or more, with some quick research that I did today also tells me that would be absorbed by any company that we contract with. So I have reached out to Durham and some of those just to do some quick research, checked into it a little bit in the past, and from what we've seen thus far, they would want to absorb our current inventory and take those buses along with them. So that's something to think about. Number 3, again, after some surface research this week, I have yet to see where there would be significant savings and we would not be in control of our own fleet nor our own drivers. So those are just 3 points. That is not me saying this is what we should do. This is me just informing you of some of the things that I know about our current busing situation. So with all that said, that decision is yours to make. So would you like me to have our bus supervisor begin the process of researching this as an option, or would you rather me just continue with what we're doing now? That decision is completely up to y'all.
I would say continue what we're doing now. I have no good feeling about outsourcing our buses.
Why was the question asked?
Just because I think it came about because we have about 3 buses that I believe Mr. Billy's going to report in his that that now that they don't make the chassis for it anymore. I think it's a Chevrolet chassis and they don't make it anymore. And so buses that we had ordered months ago are now not going to come in. So we're going to have to reorder, and it'll be an additional 20 grand per bus to do this new order. And so just in that discussion, it came up, have we thought about outsourcing buses? And it's not quite like, outsourcing custodial services. We have a number of people here who kind of rely on that for their job, their insurance, that kind of thing. But that's where that came up. And it was really toward the end of the meeting, and it was just a question to ask at the end, would you look into that, maybe give us some numbers? So that's why I'm taking it to y'all, because I can charge our supervisor, our transportation supervisor with, hey, do some research on this, look at some bidding options, that kind of thing, or we can leave it as is. But again, that's up to y'all. Yes, ma'am.
Question. Do we have any neighboring counties or districts that are outsourcing, and what are their thoughts? How is that working for them?
Great question. So actually the majority of our neighbors outsource, but none of them have the bus fleet or the size of a route that we have. So Millington outsources, a number of the smaller ones outsource, and then those around us outsource that direction as well. So there are only a few that run buses like we do. I'm not positive about Jackson, Madison County. They are close to our same size. We're similar in size, so I could check on that one. But I know that Millington and a lot of those that way do outsource, but they have much fewer. Where we have like 150 buses, they may run 25 or 30.
So are you saying the company you outsource them with will take over the buses?
They would take over the whole busing program. Drivers,
The
buses.
too?
Yes.
They'd
And
be assuming the whole 12.5 million.
correct.
We'd actually be giving that to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
If that was,
Not for it.
that was in part of the original research, and from those I've talked to, they would basically absorb the fleet that we currently have, and that would be part of the agreement. But again, if I did more research on it, I could find out more, but that's surface research, what I found out. Yes.
Those comparable districts that outsource, do you have like a cost per student? Can you break it down what our cost per student is, just to see a comparison?
I can get one of those,
Yeah, just
absolutely.
to,
I
that'd
can
be
get one
a
of
quick,
those.
easy way to see,
Right.
are we paying twice as much, or are
Right.
we paying less, or are we about the same?
And we could even, and that could even be, y'all's recommendations that, I come back with maybe some more numbers for you at the November meeting and show you a little more information, and that may help as
That would
well.
be good.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think we-
I can certainly do that.
Yeah,
The
we
other
just don't
thing-
have enough to go on.
Right, and the other thing is this, I also checked in at one point just leasing our buses, so we constantly have a new fleet. And that was gonna be incredibly expensive. I believe Billy was in on that conversation that we talked about last year about, so we don't keep buying buses, we just have this continual lease agreement. So we constantly have, we don't have a bus that's over 5 years old, right? So we keep those up. But the expense was unbelievable. I mean, it was way, it was just not even comparable to us owning the buses. Is that what you got as well?
Yes, it's now with all the new financing laws, it would make things more complicated too, because it's got to book with assets and comptroller have to approve it as debt.
Right, right.
I don't know.
But I can get more information for y'all for the November meeting if you would like me to, and, you know, it's like a cost per student, that
Sure,
kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
that would be an
Just to
easy
give
way
you
to
an idea.
compare. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I could, check more with some of those around us and get some numbers, yeah.
But the only thing about it, cost is not the only thing. We've got.
Oh, absolutely.
We've had people working in that bus shop for years.
Right.
They will
Out-
no longer be there.
Yeah, outsourcing can mean that none of those people work.
That's exactly.
That's
right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That company would make that decision.
And I don't know, we'd have to get some like referrals from that company, because if my memory serves me
Yeah.
correctly, there's some companies out there that don't have a good reputation in some regard.
And Durham has had a lot of problems with Shelby County.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Money's not the only consideration.
That's right, and you know, those that we look at be like Durham, Laidlaw, those are some areas. But a big part, like I said, for me, is that, you know, 57% of our bus drivers, out of the 125, count on us for their insurance.
Insurance.
And there are a number of them, the only reason they drive for us
Yes,
is
for
to
the
get that
insurance.
insurance.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have a number
They're
there.
typically,
So,
you know,
yes, sir,
taxpayers.
yes, sir,
They've done a lot of work. They do a great job down there with what they have.
yes, sir, thank you.
So
So
I'm really total against this.
Okay.
I mean, that's stamping back to them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I'm hearing is, I will come back with a few more numbers, a little more information for y'all in November.
Okay.
May even have Mr. Fields doing during his
That's
operations
good.
report, he's over transportation, and then get you some more to go on. That sound okay?
Hey, John,
Yes, sir.
if you talk to different superintendents, ask them to be brutally honest, to
Okay.
give you pros and cons.
Yes, sir.
Cause I know people in various districts,
Yes,
and
sir.
they would love to have our situation.
Sure.
With our buses and
Yes, sir.
drivers.
You have no control though.
That's right.
Well, it sounds like once you buy in, you ain't getting
You're
out.
done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Once we get rid of all those
You're
buses,
done.
You've lost
Yeah.
12.5
I mean,
million.
it's taking a long time to build up. that
Assets off
inventory.
the bottom line right there.
Right, that's been going for a while. The other thing is, I will encourage you to do this, at the TSBA conference, you're gonna be at the TSBA conference, that's a good time too, to talk to other, board members, and even, you'll see some superintendents and stuff there too, and you can do your own research as well. I mean, of course, I'm gonna do mine as directed by y'all, but you'll have people to talk to there and check into some of those stories like you were talking about.
So
Yes, sir.
20,000 per bus, how much is that? I mean, what was the bus price?
It's 60,000 total. A regular bus is gonna be around $100,000.
Okay.
A sped bus is closer to what?
So these are sped buses, $76,000 was the price we had bought for, now they're gonna be $20,400 more each.
So they'll be almost 100 grand.
So a regular bus would be $120,000.
That's right.
Probably, yes, sir.
Is there a used market on buses? I don't know.
I know. Well, that's, you know, after a certain number of years, they have to roll out of service. After a certain number of years and miles and all that, they have to roll out of service. So the other thing is, you know, when you sell them at auction, you know, you're gonna buy a $100,000 bus, you sell it at auction, you're gonna get what, 5 grand for it, maybe?
Very
I mean,
little.
it's just not
Can't
Well, that's
afford
better
making some
than-
buses.
a, maybe, maybe.
Selling and getting some money, giving it all away.
Right, absolutely. But I'll come back with numbers.
Okay.
That sound okay, Mr. Chair? All right, so lastly, in your folders, from my part, in your folders, I have a brief thought of devotion in there. It looks like this, has a quote from Lincoln in there. I produce something similar to open each monthly principals meeting. I just do a little devotional at the beginning of each one of our principals meetings, and I always include something like this. And just today, I was looking at it and I thought, you know, I don't know why I don't put that in y'all's folders too. I mean, we all need a little Jesus, so you might benefit from it as well. So I'll start including these in your folders each month. So there you go.
I need a lot of Jesus, by the way.
Yeah, me too, me too. As the older I get, the more I need him too. Next, I imagine right now for me that I am a taller version of this and Supervisor of the Year candidate, and I'm gonna do Mr. Fields' report. Okay, 'cause he's not here. So you're gonna have to use your imagination.
You're the man with many hats.
That's right, that's right. I'm a little taller and all that, so just put that in your mind right now. He is, by the way, with Mr. Davison at the Boys and Girls Club dinner this evening, so he's representing us there. So Mr. Fields has been working with Mr. Turner and the police and sheriff's offices to make sure that people know that people who threaten violence against our schools are gonna be prosecuted. You know, that's kind of a hard line that I've taken from day one that I've been in here, and there's no other way to say it. I mean, if you say something, if you cause riot, if you cause false information on social media, we're gonna do everything we can to nail you. I mean, we're gonna do something about that. If you heard the call out that he did a few weeks ago, you'll understand how serious we are about this issue. The information that goes out, it shuts down everything because, it's a safety concern. So of course, if we hear it, we're gonna do something about it. We're not gonna take any of those kind of false comments like that. The Sheriff's Department, police chiefs, they're awesome at working with us. I mean, they'll show up in the middle of the night at somebody's house to knock on their door and say, hey, we're investigating this. They're fantastic. We know we have their support, but we're gonna keep doing that. Project Succeed and SACC are going very well. Mr. Fields will share enrollment numbers with you at the November meeting. He let me know. We're still experiencing shortages with food and deal with a number of last-minute replacements from vendors. There are also a number of back orders and delays for supplies and equipment. I'll give you an example. We had a Cisco truck come in about a month or so ago, and it was loaded with gravy, but the rest of the meal wasn't there. So we had to figure out, okay, what else goes with gravy? So, I mean, that kind of stuff is happening. We're having supply shortages. Vendors are having supply shortages. I mean, thus far, it's working. We have a great staff. They're doing a great job. Miss Sabrina Sneed-Matthews is the nutrition supervisor. She's doing fantastic. But there are shortages. And so, as we work through that, you will also at the TSBA conference see some vendors there who are pushing this kind of stuff. Those are good questions to ask them, by the way, when you see them. Free and reduced family applications remain available for families to complete, and receipt of those forms drives the amount of federal funding that we receive here in the county. So when people don't turn those in, that's why we push them so hard. That does affect the federal dollars that we have come in because it's related to those forms that are completed by parents. Of course, they don't have to fill them out, but they're there available, and so we always want to encourage those to be completed. We have received 4 of the 5 transit buses, those are the big ones, that were ordered, and the 5th should arrive very soon. A new driver was hired on September 19th. Usually on a report, no one would celebrate because you get a driver. We're celebrating because we get a driver, right? We're 25 drivers short. So anyone we get, we're excited. We're gonna, put up a piñata somewhere. A new driver was hired September 19th, and another will begin his route on October 17th. So that's getting better. We still have multiple drivers running extra routes, Mr. Fields said, and that will continue until we are able to fill the additional openings. 2 more potential drivers are going through training now, and there are still 2 bus mechanic openings that have not been filled. If you have any questions about that, I can share that with him, and he can do an additional report on that in November as well. And so that's actually all that he would trust me with tonight. So do you have any questions for me about anything I said or I said in his stead?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Have we hired someone yet to install cameras? And are we still installing cameras while we're waiting to hire someone?
We have hired someone. We have a new camera tech. That person started 3 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago. His name is Dwayne Prince. Actually, his wife teaches at Drummond's Elementary School. Randy Prince. So Dwayne, he came from a background of doing something incredibly similar to this and wanted to stop making the drive all the way to Memphis. And so he is now with us. He has already started. He's making his rounds to all the schools, and he's talking with administrators. He's looking over our current camera situation and speaking with all the SROs in the building, because a lot of it is SROs will give you information on where those cameras should be pointed. They're angled a certain way, but for the benefit of those watching the cameras later on for something, they really need to be angled this direction or have this filter on or whatever. But yes, he started about 3 weeks ago. He works under the tech department, actually directly under Kevin. And then if a school has an issue with a camera or something they want him to look at, they load it on help desk, just like they would any kind of a technology problem. And then he'll come and run it. But for right now, it's mainly he's checking, meeting, inventory, what we have, all that kind of thing. And then he can start installing new ones after we troubleshoot what we already have.
That's almost exciting as a new bus driver.
It is. We are very, and the schools have been very excited about it as well. For sure, for sure. Yes, sir. Great question. Anybody else? All right. Thank y'all.
Dr. Cone.
Yes,
You
sir.
did a fine job. A lot of information. Mr. Hunter Bennett. Maintenance supervisor.
Good evening, guys. I don't have a colorful PowerPoint for you this evening. I apologize. We'll get back to those. We've been inside the schools more so than we have been out here lately, so we've been working on a lot of our trouble calls and the school dude reports that come across on a daily basis and trying to get a hold of those. But we have started our next, round of ESSER projects with the installation of HVAC projects, that we've had. If you guys have been behind Brighton High School lately, you notice behind where the maintenance shop is, it is full of air conditioning units. We actually started the install of those today at the Covington Votech, right here behind Covington High School. So they're installing those today and tomorrow. And then from there, we're gonna move over to Charger Academy on the gymnasium. We've got a large unit there that we're gonna replace. And then I'm waiting to hear, they're doing the inventory to see which school they have a complete packet, all the units for. And it looks as if we're gonna be going to either Mumford Elementary or Drummond's Elementary next to start the change out on those. So a lot of excitement going on with getting some of these dinosaurs off and hopefully being able to show in the very near future energy savings of what these new units will offer, as well as this energy and cleaner air and all this fun stuff. And my guys not having to chase, compressors that are breaking within, we just replaced several with just a few weeks left in the summer that were not fun to buy because you know that the units will be replaced. And like I mentioned in the last meeting, restroom projects, we're gonna start those back we're gonna wait until the summer. Instead of trying to chip away at these smaller breaks, we're gonna wait till the summer and just really man up. Now that we've got several under our belt, we feel more comfortable with gives us a few more days for adjustments. So we're gonna tackle those during the summer. The Mumford High School Ag Barn actually is gonna get kicked off this coming week. Their package it has arrived, so they're looking to get that one started with some concrete work and put some rough in on the plumbing. Covington High School's package is ordered. It will be delivered over the winter, so we're looking at about 10 to 12 weeks out still before it comes. But once they get the crops off the farm, we do plan to go ahead and get the power run back towards there to the building, get our road, the infrastructure started. So once the building does show up, we can go ahead and get it installed. And I don't have a date on the Brighton High School Ag project yet. I do know that the building has been, they've already put it out for bid. They have awarded who's getting that. And I do believe that they actually sent the deposit a week or so ago to secure that one. Exterior doors, speaking on security, we've made our rounds through Mumford and Covington, and we went to Brighton Elementary this morning to inspect the exterior doors there. Mumford doors have already been, we've already put that out to bid, and we've already ordered those doors. Covington area, we've inspected all of the doors there, and we're waiting on the specs to come back in order for us to be able to put those doors out for bid. And then the Brighton, like I said, we started Brighton Elementary today, and we plan to finish that up tomorrow, actually. That'll be at the middle school and the high school. And then we'll jump over to Austin P and Toka and catch those two being the newer schools that we have, which reason we deferred those to the end, so because we knew we had several of these older schools that needed much attention quicker. So, and the bridge at Brighton High School has been placed. If you drive by, you will see that it needs to be leveled up, but whenever we set it down with the crane, actually today, that we'll put a foundation it'll be on the north side of the ditch to raise it up to get it level. And then we have handrails that are waiting to be installed, but those will be brought down after fall break. And then I spoke with Coach Cruz today. He was very appreciative of that and being able to get some of his supporters down and having some thoughts on what they're going to do, what color they'll paint it. It has not been painted, so we're going to rely on Coach Cruz or the Brighton staff to take care of getting that color. They didn't hide any purple and gold underneath of it. But I will say, much appreciation just from the unity of the county for the Covington crew to really jump in and really pitch in to help out with that project. So they took it with much pride and we're grateful for that opportunity. And so this, again, a CTE program, the welders that were purchased with the federal funds, definitely going to use. And we were able to recycle if you recall, before the LED lights were renovated at the football field, they had the big catwalks at the Covington Stadium. Well, whenever those were taken down, that material was repurposed on part of this project. So they were very frugal with the, not being wasteful and just taking scrap dollars. We thought, let's just repurpose it and put it into this bridge. So it's been a fun one, but they do have a way for homecoming tomorrow night to be able to take the crowd for their homecoming event on the new bridge. So, does anyone, I know I don't have beautiful pictures, but does anyone have any questions?
I'm getting a lot of phone calls, about Mumford High School and the football field and the lighting on the scoreboard side up there, asking me why is it so dark? I've had people even say from the mouth or both, it's dark, it's hard to see on that end of the field. And, I just wondering if there's we gonna get any more lighting
So,
to.
and if you want to pick up anywhere along this, because we have spoken with them as far as the Mumford administration there, as far as the lighting goes. It was designed by engineers to light the field. We have advised the administration there, if they want to light up the hillside from a safety standpoint, I mean, they can reach out and get some LED lights installed. However, they have to be cautious of that because referees have advised that you gotta be cautious as, to how much light you throw down from a hillside that could potentially blind players in the field of play. But the lighting project from the LED, I have reached out to them and they are going to do what they call a foot candle count to make sure that, that they're being treated fairly on the south end and that we're not, trying to take a competitive advantage of them from other areas. But,
It does seem dark. I observed it.
the hillside, I would
Not the
agree.
hillside, I'm talking about the field seems dark.
That is contradicting to others that I've heard. Because I got a phone call after the very first game that was like, man, this field is awesome.
Oh, it's different. There's nothing with the field. It just looks dark in the middle. And
Okay.
compared to other football fields, it seems brighter.
Mhm.
But when they start doing the lights, and they score a touchdown, it's like, okay, everybody has a seizure, be careful, close your eyes, But it just gets really dark in there. And even when it's on, it's like, almost like in the middle of the field, there's like a dark spot.
So the foot candle reading, which is what's been requested, should rule out,
Sure.
and that's data, that's not something that I have.
Well, and the other neat thing that, and you may have been getting to this, the other neat thing about that light system we purchased, number one, the same engineer designed all three fields, right? So they came out, it's the same group did all of them. But the neat thing about that lighting system is we can add units to it. Like it's like, they're like modules and you just keep adding lighting to it. So if they come out and say, no, the foot candles are wrong, it's not, it's not the same as the other fields or something's up with it, then, that's always an option, is to add, to it. So it's not like we have to demo anything and we can just add things to it. But that's what we're gonna wait on that engineer to come tell us.
That's
the
where we
plan.
are with the, as far as the engineer doing on the foot candle. But back to the hillside being dark, I know that we're planning to do the spring sports. And they're actually, October the 19th is the kickoff date of when they're supposed to be here to start doing the baseball and the softball fields. When that happens, I will request that, we can turn maybe some lights on the baseball field individually. And then it's possible that the outfield lights, because these lights, they do a very good job of projecting the light down.
Yeah.
So maybe the baseball fields, maybe because they're burning much less energy than when they were in the old ones, so they're LED lights, so we could possibly, entertain turning on the right field lights, doing it right above that, that area. And again, an official on the football field could very easily say, hold on now, that's not gonna work.
I just come from my previous jobs and events that happened on that hillside, brawls. I've personally been involved in one of the police department. That's a dark high spot, where kids go get into mischief and.
That could be a liability.
That's
hundreds
where
of kids over there.
Yeah.
There's some kids over there, that's where I was really concerned. I have yet to be to a ball game yet, that's my fault, and making it yet, but,
It's almost like if you put more lights on the poles we have already and just face them toward that hill, that might be an option. I don't know. Just depending on how bright the lumens are.
We'll definitely,
We can definitely look at it. The thing,
Yeah.
when we bid the whole thing, we bid it to light the playing surface. We did not bid it to light the surroundings.
right.
Oh,
That's
no,
not
but
what
you
we-
always find that out after the point. you know.
Correct. So, that, whether it be like ground lights even or something we could put out there,
Well, I know
we
that-
could look at something like
I
that.
know
but
that
it just-
we, at Brighton High, they had an area around their concession stand that they want lit up more. So we called Southwest, and for, I think it was $25 initial fee, for them to come put the light up, and I think it's $12 a month. And it's it's LED security light, it comes on every night. So, and they welcome that and absorb that into their LED, into their lighting budget, which they'll never see it because of how much less energy they're gonna be able to burn on football fields. So.
But that's something we can ask the
That's
engineer when
something
he comes
that we-
out too.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we can ask them that, and that's
If there's something about the hill that he could maybe give us advice on too.
If it's gonna be shining lights straight up, or somewhere, to do something.
Definitely looks good.
We can look at it.
Tweak, need to be tweaked.
Yeah, but like I said, I'll reach back out to them. I don't have an exact date. They're currently, of course, we were, I guess, the squeaky wheel there for a while because I had lights and we weren't gonna be able to play football on Friday nights. And so they came and got us live literally on game day on a few of us.
Yeah.
So they currently have a large project in Millington, so they haven't left us, and we know they're coming back to do our baseball fields. So I really tried to take a break from really pounding them because they got tired of hearing from us.
Well, the lighting certainly hadn't hurt the football play down there.
No, it hasn't. And I'm pretty superstitious, I'm not so sure that I'm gonna change too much.
I tell you,
Anyway.
just leave it like it is.
But I do.
Yeah, I just wanted to give them an answer, to call in with the answer, and I thought,
And I
and I go,
appreciate that.
I don't know.
Well, the answer is we're getting an engineer to come out and look and do a study on, and see what we need to add.
That's all I need to know.
Hunter, you said, starting on the baseball and softball fields, October 19th?
That's when they're coming in town, of course. Now, whenever I say starting on those, with weather pending on which one we'll start at. I will tell you, Brighton's campus stays more wet than the others. So as soon as they show up, if it's dry, I'm gonna send them to Brighton. Just because we've got a crane stuck, we got a piece of equipment stuck while they were trying to finish up the place, there. But yes, when they mobilize, I've been told they're here to finish us through all of our sports.
Does that include soccer fields too, man?
We're not putting lights.
Oh, we're not doing.
No, so with the soccer field switching, going to play on the turf,
Yeah, the principals all said that they would just as soon play their night games on the new turf field. So we had the turf field, football fields lined for soccer too. So they still have the other field they can use for day and practice and all that stuff, but they're also using the turf field, so they just want to play on that.
Any other questions for Mr. Bennett? Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, guys.
Dr. Bird, Director of Instruction, report.
I'm gonna start tonight with our American Fidelity Teacher of the Month. This month we have Miss Carrie Sherfield, who was nominated by her principal, Mr. Alan Willie, who's here tonight. And he said this about his nominee. Carrie Sherfield is an amazing, in all capital letters, teacher. She teaches both 8th grade math and Algebra 1. She's full of energy and is a positive role model for her students and fellow teachers. She is able to connect with her students and make them fall in love with math. That's a job. Not only does she teach, but Carrie coaches volleyball. She has created a winning tradition for our team here at Brighton Middle. Carrie is also boosting our morale at Brighton Middle School. She leads the teacher morale committee and looks for every way possible to make sure that BMS is a positive and happy workplace. She is full of positivity and a can-do spirit. BMS is so appreciative of everything Carrie does for us. So tonight, we're going to present her with her Teacher of the Month award.
Can I say a few words? Sure. Everyone wants to, don't do it. Mine's for me, instead, he'd ask. I said, okay. I just want to know, I want you guys to know how appreciative I am to grow up in Tipton County and to go to Tipton County schools and then get to teach at them and see the young kids be amazing, really. I mean, I love my job because I get to see goodness. And I know sometimes people get bogged down with the negativity maybe, but whether it's volleyball or whether it's math, I don't know. You gotta look for the goodness. It's there, and we gotta focus on it, so. But hey, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
She's our first teacher of the month that ever spoke.
I love it.
You're all gonna have to talk now, right?
Set the bar.
It's
Very-
always good to be a
Good
first.
job.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Several of us have connections with Ms. Sherfield. She is an awesome.
She's a great
What's her first name again?
Carrie.
Carrie. Our first textbook adoption meeting for math was held on September 22nd. Members of the committee were sworn in and the adoption process was reviewed with them, just like I shared with you all. I shared it with them. The teacher and the administrator members of the team were also trained on the revised math standards, which will go into effect next year, and some other math instructional practices. We are hopeful that in early November, we will receive the final math textbook list from the State Board of Education. I know the textbook commission met September 22nd. Dr. Combs serves on that. And I think that was one of the, well, no, that wasn't the board member, never mind. He serves on that, and they have made some recommendations to the state board for some additions or for some changes to that textbook list. So the state board meets October the 28th. We're hopeful that we will get that final adoption list in early November, and then we will be able to begin the next steps in the adoption process. But I will keep you all updated as the committee meets, and of course, as I stated earlier, you'll be invited to those meetings if you would like to attend.
Hey, Doc.
And we're video recording.
Let me say this too. So all of the state textbook commission, all of our meetings are live streamed and recorded. So, we can also send out the link every time we have those if y'all want to watch. I mean, it's kind of like watching paint dry at the beginning. But like this last one, it was appeals. So those who didn't make like basically the cut when they first presented, the vendors who first presented their material, like for example, if any of their books said Common Core or had Common Core on it, they're automatically out because that's against the law. There were things like that our group looked through and made sure we got all those out. Well, they had the opportunity to appeal that at this last one. And it was about 3.5 hours of appeals where they get up and go through the standards, say, here's what we did, here's what we added. 2 of the vendors still didn't make the cut, so they're out. But the rest of them like added lessons to their content or added more to their instructional material to meet what was required. And so they did a pretty good job. But you need to watch that. I mean, if you want to see what's kind of going on, it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like watching that Senate hearing. It's not like the most enjoyable thing, but it's informative to see how the process works.
So at your next meeting, will you actually decide on the math books that you're gonna recommend?
That's going to be, yes, sir. We'll probably approve it, and then it would go to, after us, I believe it goes to the State Board of Education, and then they approve it. Yes, sir.
And then we pick from that list.
Yes, sir. And then after they approve the list, whatever their list is, then it comes to the district, and then the district has a team that she's talking about that will adopt, whatever we choose. Yes, sir.
Well, they'll make a recommendation to the superintendent, and then the recommendation will come to the board.
Right.
So that's-
What's the timeline on that? When do we break that?
So early November, we should get the final list. That's what we have no control over that, but that's projected timeline. And then after the first of the year, the vendors will have an opportunity to come and present their products to the district team. And again, you guys can sit in on that if you like. It is interesting. And in the meantime, at the schools, they will be going through all of the books with their school level team and using a rubric to rank the books and figuring out what's best.
Yep.
And then we will get together at some time in February. We don't have an exact date yet because we have to wait on when the caravan, and we don't get to schedule that. They pick that for us. So a little bit of it's up in the air, but approximately January, then the committee will make a decision in February, March. And then it will go to Dr. Combs, and then you all probably in April.
And for implementation for next year.
Yes.
So, and one of the big things we ran into, and one of the questions that we ask in the state textbook commission is, what's your warehouse look like? Because, we ordered books, like in How long did it take us to get them?
Oh.
No, I mean, it's like
It
before
was,
that,
yeah,
April.
in the spring, we started ordering or reordering some of our reading materials, and when school started, we still didn't have it. They say it's a paper shortage, so.
Right, but that's one of the questions we asked.
He did
was,
ask
you know,
that question, because I heard it, I was
Yeah, it
watching
was
the
online, so,
recording.
you know, I asked every vendor that question, you know, and they all gave an answer. I don't know if it was accurate, but they all gave an answer.
Full warehouse full, ready.
Yeah, it's ready.
Yeah, we
That's what they said. Well, like, there's no way it can be ready, because you just had to fix it to present to us, so there's no way you have that ready. So, yeah.
We
yeah.
typically, if we can get it to you all in March or April to approve, then we like to order May the first, no later than May the first, to be, first on the list to get our stuff. Sometimes that works, but the sooner we order, they say they fill the orders in the order that they're received. We're a larger district, so we're not sure that that's how it's done, but that's what they say, I don't know. But our goal is to order by May first at the latest for next year. All right, last thing, at the September board meeting, there's something in your packet that looks like a policy, but it's not, it's a procedure. And the way you can tell the difference is where the number is. If there's a decimal and another number after it, that means it's a procedure. But at the September board meeting, our attorney Deborah Owen spoke to you all, and she referenced a conflict of interest disclosure statement. And I provided you a copy of a sample statement that we have added to our administrative procedures manual. And if you want to look at the entire manual, it's on the district website under staff. But just wanted to give you this for reference. This was something that she mentioned, and I didn't know if you all were familiar with what she was talking about, so we've added that to our procedures manual. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair, unless somebody has questions.
Any other questions for Dr. Bird?
Would this be a good time, Dr. Bird sent us the information today, and
This
we
would be a
got
good
another copy here, and I see that Mr. Easton's here tonight. If anybody had any questions, would this be a good time to
Yes.
ask a question?
It'd be fine.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, congratulations on your new position, by the way.
Thank you.
Very important one. I was just wondering, I looked over your report, very interesting and stuff. But I was just wondering if you, just real briefly, in your own words, would tell us, what's going on, what your plans are, how you see this position evolving as things progress, and, things like that, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Well, a quick overview, with the Blue Oval investment for West Tennessee, excuse me, there are projected possibly 30,000 different jobs that'll be located in our area. As Dr. Combs has stated, and we tried to make sure that we continuously repeat it, we are not in this just to employ four.
Right.
Out of those 30,000 possible jobs, it's an estimated 5,400 that'll be part of Blue Oval Ford, possible 3,000 associated with the SK electric battery. That leaves over 21,000 other positions that need to be filled as well. And those projected jobs will include healthcare, education, law enforcement, fire services, retail, infrastructures, broadband. So in this case, my focus has been to partner with our State Department. We have a partnership where we are one of a few districts in the state of Tennessee with ESG Momentum Metric Score. Some of the districts that we partner with are Metro Nashville Public Schools, Chattanooga Hamilton County Schools, Clarkson Montgomery County Schools, and Tipton County Schools. If you look at geographically where those districts are, Volkswagen, Chattanooga Hamilton County, Metro Nashville, Nissan, pretty much all of Middle Tennessee, Clarkson Montgomery County Schools, Hankook Tires has their North American headquarters there, FedEx is building a hub there, Google database is there, and LG. And then you have Tipton County. So that tells me, if you read the tea leaves, they're expecting big things out of us. So partnering with those, we have regular convenings, minimum once a month. We also have convenings as part of the Tennessee Economic Development Group. Convene in different regions of the state. Our first meeting in September was in Rutherford County. Our next meeting will be in Knoxville. We'll have a spring session at Metro. So with that, Metro Nashville. So with that being said, we're literally, okay, we got this 30,000, we know these jobs are coming, and constantly becoming knowledgeable of what trends are coming, what these jobs look like, take that information and internalize that to match up what we currently have, as Dr. Combs said, that are successful, and then how can we also anticipate the different CTE programs that we may need to explore, possibly offering here in Tipton County. For example, I don't know if Dr. Combs has shared this with you guys, but mechatronics, for example. Mechatronics is the basis of modern day manufacturing. We partnered with them in the past. I know when I was principal at Covington High School, we had a great partnership with Dyersburg State. Some of the ideas that have been shared with some of his visits or for new generation learners, possibly offering those type of things in our schools, possibly as early as 8th grade. So looking at the current, prescribing the potential future, and making sure that we are creating pathways for our current students to have the skills needed for these new jobs. And then also for our adult population, a lot of them have been fortunate as principals Covington High or as an administrator at Mumford High, pretty much from 2005 to now, still have great relationships throughout Tipton County with that, making sure that we are being intentional and making sure they're prepared as well. So the adult population, they can partner with TCAT, they can partner with Dyersburg State to meet some of the demand, and then with our current students, making sure that our CTE pathways are aligned. And also, which I included in you guys' report, how can we not only make sure they're ready, we try to do it quickly. So we're very proud, in August, we launched our first Tipton County Schools Dyersburg State Middle College, which I was talking to some students on my school visits today. They are loving it. So make sure that we are continuing conversation with them to make sure that it's a success, and then possible expansion if this continues to be a success. Working with TCAT, as you guys, if you look through your report, speaking with them on some of my convenience I've had throughout the state. As you guys know, with growth, you gotta have construction. So there's, if we're looking at innovative and STEM-based work skills, believe it or not, in construction, 3D printing is huge right now. So I've had some discussions with Dr. Jones at TCAT. I've had a meeting I was sharing with Dr. Combs, talking to some folks from UT Knoxville, TVA, Oak Ridge, some things they're doing in East Tennessee on some possible ways that we can introduce those concepts, hopefully sooner than later with our Tipton County students, to make sure that they have those skills that'll be marketable in construction. I'm sorry. And in agriculture, you guys know, we offer digital agronomy, which is basically, I call it STEM, meeting agriculture farming. We've even seen models where they have automated tractors, automated machines that can help milk cows. So living what we have now, but making sure we don't stay so focused now that we're not projecting what that industry may look like in the next 3 to 4 years.
Right.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, I was just
Yes.
wondering, do they ever do anything like, not only, well, do they invest in communities by like providing equipment that can be, our students can be used for training, and stuff like that? Do they go that route as
Yes,
well?
so currently, I spoke with Dr. Yolanda Jones, president of Northwest TCAT. If you guys didn't know, TCAT for Dyer County, Lauderdale, and Tipton County have merged to become Tipton County Northwest. So pretty much part of that merger is the programs that are offered, in say for instance, Dyer County, they offer CDL opportunities for students. Working with her to make sure that we have those same opportunities here in Tipton County. And then we offer the digital agronomy program here, Pioneer. They're offering that, looking at the Gibson counties and the Dyer County. So with that being said, there's grant opportunities called GIVE grants. So with some of the discussions we're having, she's going to give us some dates, hopefully before the end of December, mid-December, that she'll share some opportunities and we'll discuss ways of expanding our EPSOs, early post-secondary opportunities, dual credit opportunities with TCAT. With that being said, we can leverage that opportunity that it will be cost efficient for Tipton County. And even when I was touring the TCAT Lauderdale facility last week, a lot of the labs and buildings, their construction students made. So that was another thing. They were able to get, their adult population was able to get service hours, training, and I was visiting their cosmetology lab and barbering studio. Their students constructed that. So we look at those opportunities, leveraging the resources we have. Number one, grants and opportunities. And then our tangible resources, our students. They have students, our students, as Hunter was sharing earlier, we have students now that are taking welding, students that the agriculture piece. Why not work with them on some of our projects to see if we can leverage that opportunity? It's twofold. It helps save money, but it also gives those students and learners the opportunity to practice what we've been teaching.
And Mr. B, let me throw this in there too. So he brought up a good piece about mechatronics. So
Yes.
we're applying for a grant from the state that'll be for Tipton County would probably mean about 4.5 million. So
Yes.
what it would be 1 million per high school, $500,000 per middle school. It's a non-competitive grant, which means basically if we apply and we dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure our application's appropriate, then we will get the money. But the money has to go toward the CTE piece that we're working on right now. So mechatronics is where we're leaning. All the visits I've done, all the visits Marcus has done, our team's done, that's what we see. Mechatronics involves robotics, coding, STEM, all that kind of in one fancy word called mechatronics. And it's an area where really the only thing we touch on with regard to mechatronics right now would be the pieces like digital agronomy and some of those things that use like, the drones and all that kind of stuff. So that's where we are leaning, and we're gonna introduce it earlier, like middle school. Even we talked about even having almost a sampler platter, right? So when you're in middle school, you get a little piece of what ag looks like, what welding looks like, what mechatronics looks like. You get a little sampler of that. So when you enter as a 9th grader, you've got a pretty good idea of the things you like and the things you really don't. One of the other things that besides ag is just our nursing programs are phenomenal at all 3 schools. You get a little taste of that in the middle school. So when you enter as a 9th grader, you're not spending your 9th grade year going, what do I want to do in one of these? No, you pretty much already know. And more importantly, your parents do. Because once you convince your parents, that whole misnomer out there that you're not successful if you don't have a 4-year degree, we've got to stomp that out.
Yes.
Because, right now, about 50% of our kids go to a 4-year university. What are the rest of them doing? Well, we have to focus on that. And we have to quit pushing that concept that you're not successful if you don't have a 4-year degree. The guy that worked on my Jeep the other day, he makes a lot more an hour than I do. So, we have to push our kids to know there are all these other options out there that they need to be aware of. And the only way to do it is to introduce it early so they can start seeing it in middle school. But anyway, hopefully this new piece will lead into that.
Exciting.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to condense it because I can go on and on.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I'm trying to condense it, but as Dr. Combs said, one of the reasons that this investment, that hopefully our area was attractive is for what we offer here. With CT in our public schools, and I'll tell anyone, I'm a proud Christian, but as a person that has lived in multiple states, multiple districts, you can't beat the offerings we have in Tipton County. We have great public schools, and we have some Christian options as well. To me, that makes it a great community. So in our case, just making sure that we're being proactive instead of reactive. And I thank Dr. Combs, thank you guys. He sort of just says, Marcus, get out there and go. And I'm constantly, sometimes they come by my office, I have a cell phone out and 2 laptops going, constantly studying regions that have had similar growth and making sure that we can learn from them, but also build it to fit who we are in Tipton County. That's something that, we're very focused on and making sure we would not lose our identity.
And it's just so hard to get him to interact or talk with me. I can't get him. It's just so hard. I'm just like, come on, man, spit it out.
Okay, good. Yeah. So hopefully I answered that. Okay, sorry, I'll be quiet. We get excited about this.
It's like that $4 million grant.
Yes. 4.5
Yeah.
million, that'd be $1 million per high school, $500,000 per middle.
That's
And Dr. Norton, our high school supervisor, is heading up the writing of that grant, and we're gonna submit that in February.
Nice.
You said half a million.
$500,000 per middle and $1 million per high. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Haston. Good information there.
Very
We'll
good.
move
Thank
along. Next item is a financial report with Mr. Billy Daugherty.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Got a few things to go over. I'll start where Dr. Combs left off regarding the buses. I'm just gonna read for you the letter we received from the Mid-South Bus Center regarding the buses. Basically, it says that they were contacted recently by the Collins Bus Corporation that they are basing their, decision on force majeure, and pertaining to the chassis computer chip shortages and other COVID-based part shortages and employer work shortages, that General Motors and Collins Bus are no longer gonna offer the 2022 model Type A bus that was specified in our bid. And so they have, not only ours, but 1,500 other units across the country have been canceled. And so he goes on to say that in his 24 years, he's never seen this happen. But regardless, our 3 buses we had on purchase order have been canceled. We were given the option, if you want to call it an option, to continue to have those on order, but increase the price by $20,200. And so obviously for us, our policy says anything over $25,000 has to be put out to bid. So it put that to bed for us. So we had to cancel the order, and we'll be putting those things back to bid. I will be back before you in the immediate future, because that money that was associated with those purchase orders and encumbrances are sitting out in prior year encumbrances. Talked to the finance committee this past week, or this Monday, and probably may come and try to put some of that in capital improvements budget, and then we'll take some money out of fund balance to make up the difference, or we'll be making that request to get these buses back on order, because if we order them today, 10, 12, 14 months before we get them. And so these 3 buses in particular were sped buses. So the one that concerns me is there was a grant that was funding one of them, and we've got to identify the timelines if we're going to be able to carry that money over, because there's a possibility we could forfeit that money because we cannot produce the product by the end life of the grant. Still working on that. So just want to let you know that. In saying that, the life of a school bus is 15 years. After it reaches 15 years, we can pay the state a waiver. We pay about 12 to 15 grand a year to keep some buses on this road up until 18 years. And at 18 years, regardless, they come out of the fleet. And so we have to keep that in mind when we deal with annual rotation and look at our buses as we purchase them. And this is going to be a challenge for us in the future, so long as there are shortages and these significant price increases. $75,000 sped bus increased $20,000. We anticipate, I spoke briefly today with the transportation supervisor, Will Vanver, and he believes the new estimate for these 78 passenger buses are going to be about $116,000, where we were paying $100,000. That's going to create some issues come budget time. We're going to start trying to appropriate some more money there. And we have some buses. Of course, I'll leave that to Will in his future reports about that life schedule for the buses. So that was about $228,000 worth of money that was encumbered. So you'll hear from us on that again. Next item of business I want to take under is the reading of the SSO, School Support Organizations. So we have the last meeting, we had one club that had yet to meet all the requirements that's the Mumford High Touchdown Club. And since then, we've had one additional school support organization, the Covington High Home Run Club, has met the requirements set forward by the district to be a school support organization. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask that the board vote to approve the Mumford High Touchdown Club and the Covington High Home Run Club as school support organizations in Tipton County for fiscal year 22-23.
Okay, do we have a motion for that? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. Matt McGann. McGann. Are there any questions about it? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed.
One of the other things you all have to do as a board, and I'm going to pass this around, there is a copy paper shortage, so I'm being very conservative with making a bunch of copies, okay? The internal school budgets, they have to submit their budgets to us by September the 30th. Currently, that's the way the policy runs, and you all have to vote to approve the budgets. We've gone through the budgets, and so I'm going to pass these around if you want to look at them. Just make their way, if you want to. I'm going to ask to spread those on the minutes for approval later. You'll see the notes from where finance has gone through the budgets to make sure that things add up as they're supposed to. But I'll continue to talk while they review those, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
To update you on the copy machine contracts we discussed in our last meeting, we're going to end up putting that, we're going to have to put it out to bid, number one, for these multifunction devices and services. And so that's the next step in this process to renew these contracts. We briefed the finance committee on Monday night as well, because essentially it's 106 machines across the district, so it's significant to look at. Want you to know we'll be coming back for that as well, for approval from this board to enter into those leases once we have more significant or more definitive lease information.
Billy, who negotiates those leases?
So we'll put it out to bid, competitive bid, and so we'll, basically state what we expect in the bid with the machines, because the needs are different in each building, and, some buildings have black and white copiers, and some have fax and scanners, and some have the hole punch and staple, just depending on where they're located in the building. And so the schools make those decisions, because every school's needs are different.
All right, well, I'm gonna throw something out here tonight. I'd rather not tell you the truth, because it really is getting into the weeds. I've talked to you about the copies for teachers and stuff like that there. I've taught before, and I've been up against it before, like they allot me so many copies, and that's not enough for me, so I have to go around mooching from people, extra stress. I've heard from several teachers recently about not getting, in their opinion, sufficient copies from the school. And I asked Billy about it, I asked him the cost and everything. I think he said that the copy machines, it's not the paper, I don't think, that's an issue. I mean, we can get paper, PTO can buy paper, I can buy paper.
It's the clicks.
It's the clicks. So every time that thing clicks, it's like 0.001. That's how much it costs us, I think. If we go over what we've negotiated in the contracts, it's like 0.009 for each copy thereafter. So it's quite expensive. Now, Billy had sent me some things, and Rebecca, that I'd asked for about various schools, they're very close together. They're copier, like Drummond's is, I'm just speculating here, 15,000, Munford Elementary, 13,000, Brighton Elementary, 16,000, or something like that. I even talked to her principal today and asked her how many copies she allows their teachers. She said 6,000 a semester, I think. And even though I know a lot of our curriculum and stuff got the stuff in there, and you think, well, maybe teachers don't have to, but they're not making copies out there for fun. They're making copies because they think they need them to help them teach. And I just want to make sure it's equitable for anyone. In other words, I don't even want to talk about it anymore if somebody can guarantee me that a teacher is not going to have to beg for freaking copy paper.
I haven't had one teacher complain to me.
Ever?
Ed council, nothing. And now Ed council's their rep now, Mr. Vincent. They're supposed to tell them. But now we haven't had, I think Brooke even checked with some of the elementary schools and stuff too, and they haven't said, no one has said they didn't have enough copies, that they weren't given more copies. So and I can check on that myself, for, I guess, folks that are scared to talk to me and they just want to tell you.
Well, I think
the other thing is, we're 1-to-1, and we weren't 5 years ago. So are they using their devices? We're 1-to-1. Next meeting, I can sure bring a thing that says how much y'all spend on laptops. Are they using those to instruct?
I don't know.
Do they get the same amount of copies they've always gotten, and they have the 1-to-1 laptops, and they have the workbooks that the kids write in? Because my thing is, I haven't heard they don't have enough copies, but we will certainly put that in the negotiation. If that's an issue, I'm gonna take care of it, but somebody needs to tell me that. Instead of just telling you.
People too scared to talk to you.
That's their fault.
The
That's their fault.
The teachers I'm talking about are too scared to talk to their administration.
That's their fault if they're too scared to talk to me.
Well,
I've heard that too.
Well, even, I'll have to
Not
say,
scared to talk to you, but.
I was gonna say, Lord help, they talk to me about everything else. I can't do it. I hear, the stuff I hear, I'm really surprised that there aren't folks that would step up and say, here's the deal, we don't have enough copies.
well, as a former bookkeeper, I never had that complaint. Because sometimes if a teacher was using all her copies, you might have a teacher that didn't use any copies. So you could go to that teacher and say, hey, you're gonna need these.
So the click would balance
Because
out.
they're not someone that requires, that
Right.
doesn't make copies, so we share them,
But I'll also say this, Lord help, teaching is, I don't care what anybody says, teaching is the hardest job on the planet.
Amen.
So, if they don't feel like they have enough, I need to know that. And when we do negotiations, we'll negotiate that with the contract, so that is not, they have plenty to worry about. I don't want them to worry about that. So
That was my
we'll,
thought.
so we'll fix it. But like I said, I need to know that.
you know, and that
That's
whole,
why I'm not scared to talk.
you were, so that's my thing. You were open and felt comfortable saying that, so I'm gonna say this. I'm sick of the excuse that people that are scared to talk to me, because that's just malarkey. Everybody talks to me about everything. I've got the widest open door on the planet. I email them, they need to tell me that, and I'm gonna take care of them. Watch the meetings, I stick up for them all the time. I want them to have what they need.
I think it's a teacher culture, you know, to be honest with you.
It probably is, it probably is, but
Okay, well, that's,
we'll take care of
okay,
it.
there you go, now I feel good.
We got
Let's move along.
We'll take care of it.
Let's move along.
I don't want Mr. Vincent asking me, I'll take care of it.
And if I may, and I'll close with that, no complaints about running out of copy paper. Met with the bookkeepers, monthly, no complaints about, basically they say what she said is that they have plenty of copies, in the building, it's just one may use the other one, so. Nevertheless, that's coming, that's a big deal, we're going to finance that, or not finance it, but at least for 5 years. So it's, we're talking $1.5 million, $2 million.
Question about the copier contract.
Mhm.
I've heard, the schools buy their own,
So,
do their own contracts. I've heard that they want to stay with their own company instead of going to one.
well, currently the district's all under one company anyway, there's not multiple companies in the district, there's only one. The issue has been, or is, only 2 people can enter into a contract on behalf of this district. It's Dr. Combs and Mr. Burleson. So you cannot have district level administration signing contracts or leases, because if the school defaults, who's responsible? So then the district, then the district becomes responsible for the debt. And so, we've talked about a number of ways. There's been some great ideas from the bookkeepers. The bookkeepers do a lot of heavy lifting inside the internal schools, and they're a wealth of information, and we've had these meetings over the copiers, and every school's needs is different on the copiers as well. And so I think that there will be much like everything else in the district, it's one of the benefits. I'm gonna tell you something that I've seen since I've been in this position. There are so many avenues for employees to get their voices heard. This Ed Council thing was a new thing to me when I got here, and there's a lot of ways for people to communicate. And I think this copier will be just like the textbook committee or anything else. We'll bring in those that have knowledge with it and make some decisions. And you all will certainly hear more about it as well as we go through it. So, but all the current copier contracts are not expired. There's getting in ahead of it, and we have these multiple contracts we're trying to get under one umbrella. Because if you have a district that signed in 5 machines on a contract, but we've got 106 in the district, who's gonna get the better price? If we put it under the one contract. And then the schools that want, there are some schools that want more than one copier, they can pay for those individually to us, and we'll pay the bill. But we'll see how that works out. I digress on that. All right. The next thing, going to your budget amendments. I printed for you, we talked a lot about E-Plan, and so you're gonna see a packet that looks like this, and in the top right-hand corner is gonna be a highlight, it says Revisions 3, Consolidated Admin Pool. Mr. Chairman, we're gonna take up several of these amendments, in this, if we will. And so the consolidated finance or grant, is encompassed by several different components, and you'll see that. So I'm gonna read them over. This is Revision 3. For the consolidated, the first one highlighted is the admin pool. The second one, if you'll flip over, is Title I, Part A. If you'll flip over 2 more pages, and of course you can see the changes as we're going through, whether it's being added or subtracted from that line item, right? It's not changing the bottom line, but it is reappropriating money to follow the students in the programs. The third one is Revision 3 for Title 2A. The next one, Revision 3 for Title 4. The next one, Revision 3 for IDEA Part B. And then the next one for Revision 3 IDEA Preschool. All of those grants I just named are in what's considered or called the consolidated school budget, federal school budget. And so they all operate individually, but they're collectively under one umbrella. And so we're making these changes in this one consolidated. If you look on page 2 or 4, there's a circle that you may have seen on a page. I imposed a number in the wrong line item in the last amendment, and so I'm going to be correcting that as well, basically just subtracting it out of one line and putting it into the other. Just wanted to bring that to your all's attention. That's a change internal for us, but it still is inside this. And so, again, standard revisions to consolidated application as the school year begins and we start aligning with programs and enrollment and that type of thing. Mr. Chairman, I would ask that, for a motion to adopt these amendments as presented and approve the new plan.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a
Motion
motion.
by Mr. Vincent, second by Ms. McClurkin. Are there any questions about it? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
The next one that you have is gonna be look like this, and it says ARP Homeless 2.0. We're gonna make a significant $548.10 amendment in this budget. This is outside of consolidated, but still in federal funding. And so this is just basically to address, some contracts for substitute teachers. And so that is the only change in that budget, Mr. Chairman, if we could have a motion to approve that budget amendment, as approved in E-Plan.
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Jenkins, second by Mr. Kirk, okay. Are there any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
And, looks like the school budgets have made their way around. Are y'all good with that, what you said? I just thought, you can see the difference in the school budgets and what some of the balances carry, you know, throughout the different schools. But those bookkeepers in the school level do a really good job of, managing that and communicating. And so anyway, we asked tonight that their budgets be approved for this year.
Do we have a motion to approve the school, budget? Motion by Ms. Eubanks, second by Ms. McClurkin. Are there any questions about any of those? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed.
As you noticed, you didn't get a financial report tonight. The September 30th was on Friday. We backed the meeting up a week, so finance is not done closing the books for September, so I don't have a financial report to give you. So I will amend that. You'll see it the next go around when we meet again.
That sounds good.
All right, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. If there be no questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Billings.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
As a TSBA convention is around us, coming up in November, and who all is going to the convention? All right, we need TSBA delegates is what we have to have. What it is, you have resolutions and the whole convention's, one of the whole auditoriums up there will be full of people. Mr. Vincent can vouch for that.
He's done that several times.
Yeah, we've done it, we've all done it a lot, and it's very interesting, and we need about 4 or 5. We need about, as many, 5 would be good for our board since we have 9.
What you do is basically you go in there and hear the resolutions presented by TSBA's.
Right.
And we vote on them.
Yeah, we
It's
vote
pretty
on it,
easy
but-
situation.
But you do know what's going on, you know, as far as what's coming down the pipe. It's pretty interesting, if you know, and,
That's the November 10th.
yes, that's,
That'll be on the Sunday.
it'd be on a Saturday. Yeah, I'm pretty much sure, yeah, it'd be over on Sunday. Yeah, Saturday is when that, Saturday afternoon, 2 to 4.
I'll volunteer.
We're going
All right.
Thursday.
Miss Melinda, are you writing these down? Okay. All right, Mr. Vincent, Mr. Kirk, Mr. McCann, Mr. Jenkins. All right.
Mr. Albus, I think he raised his
Albus
hand.
will.
Yeah.
Isaiah too.
Put Albus down, he's not here.
There'll be some meetings around.
But you'll really enjoy it. You'll learn a lot. And you new board members are gonna learn a lot at that convention. I know it's kind of new to you right now, but you're really gonna have a lot of, it's gonna be a lot of information for you. It'll be more than you really comprehend. So, anyways, anybody else have any other business? Dr. Combs, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple things. Number one, I wanted to let you know, so there is a podcast. I didn't know if Mr. Marty would say this, since he is one of the people included. I was gonna get his autograph later on tonight. There's a podcast for new board members that will be sent out in the TSBA communications email tomorrow. And our own Mr. Marty Burleson was involved in that podcast, so you might want to check that out when you get that tomorrow. I'm going to listen to it and give you a score on there. Yeah, that's right. So, but check that out. But it is usually really good for new board members. Just good information would be nice to know on the front end, quite frankly.
It's a
So,
lot of,
yeah.
it's, Dale Boggs, myself, and Keith Fiedloffer from Oak Ridge, Dale is from, Arlington, and Candy Morgan from Maryville. And, anyway, we had a pretty good discussion. It was very nice last Friday, and
The webinars and podcasts that the TSBA put out are very.
they are
interesting and
informative. Yes, they are.
They are timely,
Yeah.
timely. So anyway, y'all all get that. Do I need to forward that to you? Y'all get it, right?
And y'all getting it on Fridays, every Friday? Yeah.
Okay, okay, all right. And then the last thing I was gonna say, I don't know if you noticed, we changed out all the pictures. So I get all these pictures. These are Sean Anderson, Tipton County GIS does these for us. And you'll note the difference, and you're like, those look like the same pictures. What do you notice? The roofs are all white. Those are the new roofs.
Yes.
So, so it's pretty interesting. The only downside is, if you look at the 3 high schools, the fields were being built at the time. So as a matter of fact, if you look at Munford Highs, which is there on the end, you can actually see the tractors and dump trucks out on the field, like doing the work on them. So I asked Sean, I said, man, come on, I know you can hook us up. When's that satellite coming back? He said about 3 years. So we're gonna have a party. Everybody's gonna bring a green marker, and we're gonna draw those things up at some point, put them in there. But the pictures are all new. The white roofs are really cool, as you can see. They look nice. They're new, reflective. I mean, it's just nice to see them there. So anyway, those are all updated pictures, and I wanted to make sure I gave a shout out on camera to Sean Anderson, Tipton County GIS, for providing those free of charge for us.
If we had a drone class.
Oh, yeah, well, and I talked to one of them, he can't get his drone that high. I said, can you get it? He said, well, so, I've also talked to someone who's an aviator, and we're gonna see if we can get something.
I'm a friend of the aviator.
There you go.
Yeah, if there's no